Greetings, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Critical Podcast. My name is Jimmy Good, and I'm your host. And joining me this week is my go-to podcast compadre, Mr. Joe Lever. Joe, how's it going, pal?
You know, Jimmy, I'm doing pretty good. I think I missed a week in here somewhere, and it's good to be back. Feels good.
Yeah, thank you for being back. I know I was gone for last week. I was in California, but we kind of shot the show a little earlier, so yeah, you weren't on there. But you're back, and you're wearing a lot of white, which it looks good on you.
It's odd, isn't it? It's odd. I mean, normally my color's black.
Like your soul.
Like my soul, like my coffee, like most everything I own.
Exactly.
My truck's black, yeah.
Oh, yes, of course it is. Which I was like, yeah, I had this idea.
Even my peace tea, ginger ale, Canada Dry is black tea.
That truck is the Critical Reviews mobile in my mind. And by the way, we also have Lily here joining us. This is her bed. I just sleep in it. That's just what I tell people because it's so very true. Anyway, if you're joining us for the first time, welcome everybody who's joining us for the 106th time. We also welcome you. We talk about movies, TV shows, and games here primarily, or sometimes even theme parks if we're feeling it because I love them. Mostly just Disney, but I'm horribly biased. Anyway, I want to talk about just a smidge of news. We got some really good news today here. Dragon Quest XI, a game that's come out in Japan. It is a national phenomenon over there. Apparently, a lot of people take sick days for it, and you're not supposed to over there, but they do because they love it so much. But it's getting a Western release here just a day before my birthday, September 4th. It's like they did it just for me, which is great because looking at this kind of spring and summer lineup of games, I'm like, thank goodness they pushed this 100-hour, JRPG back a little bit to September. A good way to start the fall off before the craziness of fall, like with Red Dead and all that insanity that's going to come next. I'm just really excited about it. There's not really much more news than that. I'm really stoked for it. Joe, I've talked about Dragon Quest a little bit here. It's very cartoony in style. I don't think you would enjoy it too much, but if there was anything now that you've played Monster Hunter World, what would Dragon Quest have to do to really pull you in personally?
What would they have to do to pull me in?
Yeah.
Put some death and gore in there like Monster Hunter World. I want to see things, getting chopped off and things dying.
I wonder, I never looked at the official rating for Monster Hunter World. Is it M?
I don't know. It should be. You're killing creatures, man.
No,
they deserve to live as much as we do.
But T for teen, I look at Uncharted, and those games are T for teen. Not like those games are super graphic or anything. But okay, so you need a dark and twisted Monster Hunter style into Dragon Quest for you to be excited about it at all. Fair enough. It's also single player, so
I honestly barely know what Dragon Quest is.
That's fine. It's the same. It's okay. It's the same art style as Dragon Ball Z, if you kind of remember that at all, like that. But it's more of a medieval vibe. Yeah. Akira Toriyama, I believe. Anyway, I'm excited about it. That's not Joe's thing. It's my thing. Don't worry about it. I can't wait to play that game and stream it and review it. I'm gonna be like, oh, it's so good. It's gonna be nice because last time I played was Dragon Quest VIII, which was out on PS2, and I played that about a year and a half ago or something, or 2 years. And that was a lot of fun, and I really love these games because I kind of grew up playing one of them on the Game Boy Color. I remember it's Dragon Warrior Monsters or something like that. It was basically like Pokemon, but I've always loved these monsters, and like Pokemon, it's it kind of brings me back in to see these guys again because they always have some new ones here and there, but typically it has a lot of the classic slime, which is the blue raindrop thing with the big dopey eyes in the mouth. And I just absolutely love all those monster designs and all the little noises within the little sound effects that they have within the games. Like Dragon Quest Builders has all those sound effects too, just for healing and casting magic or picking things up. It's delightful. But Dragon Quest XI, it's coming September 4th. Can't come soon enough, honestly. But I'm just happy it's coming. Thank goodness. Another thing, Joe, now I know you're going to be this is going to hurt you. I don't want to talk about it because I know how much you love the X-Men movies. You love them so much. They're basically the thing that defines you, besides your love of Venom or the Xenomorph. It's X-Men right after that. Dark Phoenix and New Mutants have been pushed back because apparently there haven't been enough time for doing the reshoots. So apparently Dark Phoenix was slotted to come out in November this year or something like that. November, December, I think it's November. And they're pushing it back to next year. That's the one that we're going to have Michael Fassbender's back, Jennifer Lawrence is back, that cast. Do you care at all about this franchise after you've seen like the last couple? We had like Apocalypse and Days of Future Past. Like, do you really crave a new X-Men?
No, not really.
Okay,
they'll just screw it up again.
How did they screw it up the first time?
I don't know what the timeline is. I don't know who is who. Characters change. I don't understand what's going on. Because when did that happen? Wait, is this before that happened? I don't know. I don't care. I'm over it.
Is there any part or aspect of these films that you actually like? Because I really like Michael Fassbender's portrayal of Magneto. It's no Ian McKellen, but I still really like it. And I feel like that's going to be the saddest thing to go away. Is there something in here that you'd like to see carry over or something that you really like?
Yeah, I can agree with that. I think Professor X and excuse me, drawing a blank. Professor X and Magneto, both of them. Magneto, Ian McKellen, and
Patrick Stewart.
Can you really do much better than that for anything? I mean, geez, old Pete.
Well, yeah. Well, it's been a while since then, and I like Fassbender and McAvoy. It's just not the same exactly because, like, you can tell the friendship that McKellen and Stewart have always had. It's like a real friendship in the real world. So having them play off each other is just like, yeah, that makes sense. Like, they're two incredibly good actors, and like these two younger guys, they do a good job, but I don't really, I just kind of want Disney to figure this all out, and I kind of want them to just brush all of this under the rug. That's kind of what I was hoping was going to happen. Like, I was like, kind of just get rid of it all. Like, I don't want them to do Dark Phoenix, man. Like, I want them to just save that for MCU. Like, I want them to do a real good X-Men, but for the new Marvel stuff. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I think it'd be nice if they tied that together.
Yeah, and recast everybody. And that includes my boy, I love you, Wolverine, and I love Hugh Jackman, but he's getting up there, and they want to cast a younger Wolverine, and I think it's totally fine to just cast again. I wish Tom Hardy wasn't Eddie Brock in Venom, because I'm, like, really nervous about that movie. He would have been a great younger Wolverine. That's okay. Neither here nor there, but I just want to bring that up because some people might be excited for that one. It's, their Fox taking their last crack before it all goes away at Dark Phoenix. Oh boy. Also, I think it'll be smart to recast everybody. There's a lot of money put into just like, look at Jennifer Lawrence, Michael Fassbender, McAvoy, and I think Nicholas Hoult. That's a ton of money to just put into those actors, let alone those characters. And I think recasting potentially lesser known stars or no name people might be the more intelligent decision, especially if they're going to make like 20 movies with them, right?
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So last thing, favorite X-Men, Joe. Who's your favorite? Do you have a favorite? I don't know if we've talked about this. I don't know if I have a favorite. Maybe Wolverine? I mean, Wolverine's such an easy pick, but...
Jean Grey.
Jean Grey?
Yeah.
Do you like Jean Grey or do you like the Phoenix?
I liked the actress who played Jean Grey in the... I don't know which one.
The older ones, Famke Janssen.
And she's British in real life, I think. I don't know.
Right? You're not talking about the new Game of Thrones though one, the younger Jean Grey.
No.
Okay.
Wait, okay. What? She's Jean Grey too?
There's multiple. Yeah, again, because they did like recasting younger, for like these older movies, or I should say they are newer, but they take place like the 70s and the 60s and the 80s now. So yeah, they have like multiple people.
Really? I couldn't tell.
Yeah. Which is one problem. I feel like if you're trying to do like an interconnected universe, like at least Marvel, they've had a few like time slip ups here and there, but it's usually like the progression of the films. You're not usually watching a prequel, and if it is, it's like one person. It's not like an entire group, and they're like, all right, this is going to be the Avengers in like 2002. Like if you're like, what are you doing? So I think that's another thing we can look forward to in the future here. But Dark Phoenix, who the heck knows what that's going to be? New Mutants, which I think is kind of like a horror movie, kind of. I just don't know. There's just like a last ditch effort, but I'm happy that's all going away. Because honestly, I really don't want to think about it anymore. It's been weird. Apocalypse was not great. Days of Future Past was all right, but Apocalypse was not super good. Anyway, Joe, I know both news stories, they really struck a chord with you, but I want to talk about something. I want to get into the main topic of the show today, because this is one I really want to get into. Sea of Thieves. I've done a review of it. You can check it out right over here. Ooh, look at that. And I would love if you just pause the video. If you haven't seen that review yet, watch that. You can get my thoughts. I'll talk about it a little more in depth here. But Joe, I want to talk a little bit about our experience with the game, and just mostly initial experience. And I did a review on it. So we've had enough time to really kind of, I think, formulate some theories on it and some thoughts and some constructive criticism. But Joe, for you, Sea of Thieves, man, like the good, the bad, what is it to you? What is this game in your mind right now?
Okay, let's start off with some bad things. I'll get to the good if I can think of any. So this is going to be tough. Jimmy, I'm going to need silence out of you. Maybe a smile will be fine, but silence. People watching the podcast may want to turn their attention to the screen. Our buddy Drew, who we play Sea of Thieves with, he sent me this little, it's called Gamers Doing Stuff. That's the Instagram user. And there's tons of cool stuff on that account on Instagram if you're interested. A lot of funny stuff and like trick shots and crazy things that happen. But this is the solo Sea of Thieves experience in a nutshell. I'll play it for you guys. For those people that like Family Guy. So obviously the one guy in the car getting overtaken by Peter and his crew. Yeah. That's what it's like playing by yourself. Pretty good. Yeah, so almost no sense in owning the game if you're going to play alone, because that's how you end up. So, hope everybody got at least a little bit of a kick out of that. But
yeah, I was going to say, to explain to people who might just be listening, it's basically Peter was in a car with a crew of other pirates. They pulled up to another guy in a car. Peter jumped over. They stole a bunch of boxes from this guy. And they shot him off the road, and he sank in like a river.
Did I mention? Yeah, did you mention that they're all dressed like pirates? They're all pirates, and that there are 3 masts with sails or sheets from a bed coming out of Peter's station wagon. Yeah, it's a whole thing. You kind of had to be there, but it's great. It's a perfect analogy, or right metaphor analogy. Explain the difference to me. Analogy is, it's not a metaphor. It's an analogy, right?
Yeah, I think.
For the situation?
I'll look it up.
Dang. I don't know. We don't need to look it up. Somebody correct us if you want. Who cares?
Too late. I'm doing it. Keep going.
Anywho, single play is futile in this game unless you like to be really bored and to get shot down a lot.
I thought you said you were going to start with the positives.
Did I say start with the positives? Because I'm starting with negatives.
Wait, did you say that? And then you're like, I'll start with the positives if I can think of any, and then we'll get to the negatives. I think you said that, or maybe it was vice versa. I apologize.
No, if I can get, and then we'll get to the positives if I can think of any, and you laughed. Because it made sense, I think.
Oh, by the way, I looked it up. Analogy, it's, you can compare it to a metaphor or simile. It shows how 2 different things are similar, but it's a bit more complex. Rather than a figure of speech, analogy is more of a logical argument. And remember that a simile is using like or as, where a metaphor is just like, you don't use the word like at all. You say like, a butterfly is a moon, or something like that. You're like, oh.
English is stupid.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, you're right. Yeah, for sure. I just love to think that somewhere out there, someone's learning English, and not only are they trying to learn the slang, but it's like, here's the hard rule. And it's like, but here are the 3 times we break that rule. And you're like, why is it a rule then? Sorry, keep going.
Yeah, so more negatives are
Can we start with positives?
Hold on. We'll get to the positives, I promise.
Okay.
More negatives are the graphics are a little. They're okay. They're cartoony. They're somewhat well done. I haven't really had any issues. I mean, for the style that they went, I feel like it's okay. But it's not mind blowing by any means. There's detail, but it's not like, whoa, look at the blades of grass type of thing. The controls are first person, so like a first person shooter, which makes me feel like it's very clunky and kind of odd, and it's not insanely like smooth and fluid by any means. It's a little weird.
And you're saying that's not just for all first person shooters, you're saying for this specific one.
Yeah, and there's not much feedback to it. Like when you're walking around, it just feels like you're kind of floating.
Yeah, and you are like, I know people could give you criticism for this, but you're like a connoisseur of first-person games. Like, you know your first-person games.
I am.
And so, like, when you play one that you don't like, you feel it immediately. Like, you can move around, you're like, something's wrong. Like, something's wrong here.
Yeah, like it just doesn't flow well with me, or doesn't feel quite right, so I don't enjoy it so much. But I mean, it's not the worst. It could be worse, but it's mediocre is what I'll say. Kind of middle of the road, or what you would kind of expect for the style it is, I guess. What else here? It's kind of hard to figure out a little bit. Like, I don't know if we're actually supposed to figure out riddles and stuff. It's not very intuitive. And kind of just leaves you sitting there like, what do we do now? And, it's like you're trying to think of every technicality to make things work. And, like sinking ships. It's like, okay, you got to aim right at the water line to get the ship to sink. Well, okay, so we have to line up perfectly so that you can aim low enough. And I guess that makes sense. Okay, great. But for a game that doesn't look like it would be that technical, it's that technical, I guess. So it's kind of weird.
That's pretty funny, because I think that's like a really accurate statement, because you're totally right. Yeah. When you look at the game, you're like, well, it's kind of cartoonish and fun and understanding or whatever.
Yeah, like crazy. If I hit a freaking boat, a wood boat that only has one mast and sail, so it's a smaller boat than the one I'm shooting it with, me and my buddies hit it 8 times, it still hasn't sank. For this game, I would have expected that thing would have blew up.
Yep. Yeah, I get that.
But it didn't. He just patched the holes. He kept on going.
Blown to smithereens, but nope.
Yeah, I don't know. There are cool features. Like, I like when you die, there's like this kind of whole... They were creative in the transition of, okay, you died, you're in purgatory for a second, you come back, and you got to find a mermaid in the water, kind of like mystical-y type deal. Brings you back to the ship with your friends, etc., etc. It's kind of neat. I like that. So I'm mixing in a positive there. The sailing is actually surprisingly pretty good, and it's kind of accurate. And like in my mind, and like I try and hold back, because I feel like I'm like, okay, if we want to get going real fast, I'll just tack. And like tacking is like if you use the wind, so you go away from your direction, but you're still gaining distance towards it. So you're still keeping with the wind, and then you tack back the other way, and you kind of zigzag your way to the point you're going to. So that's like if you're going into the wind, you have to use that method in order to catch the wind on your sails. So like there's actual like yachting or sailing experience that can be applied here, because it's that realistic, which I find kind of neat. But it requires a lot of coordination with your team. If you're sailing one of the bigger ships that has the 3 masts and all the sails to fill them, it's complex. You got to all communicate. Like, okay, I need the front 2 sails turned all the way to the port side. It gets to be a big coordination type thing, you know. And then it gets especially difficult when you're trying to keep your boat moving, but you're trying to shoot with your cannons. And you only have 3 people. If you can get a full team of 4, it probably helps. But all in all, that just goes to prove more that playing alone is probably pretty boring. Oh, let's go do another treasure hunt. We go to the island. Oh, we find the treasure. Okay, we sail back. Oh, we sail, go get another one. It's kind of repetitive and boring, but if you're actually with a group, you're engaging with other teams and shooting down boats, that can make it fun. But is it worth $60? Absolutely not. Is it worth a few bucks for a little fun? Probably. It's not that I didn't enjoy playing it, but I don't think it has much longevity. And if they, like in my mind, if they took a game like that and stylized it and added as many intricacies as like Monster Hunter, I think you'd have a real success on your hands.
Yeah. I don't want to take it. I feel like you're on a streak here, man. I don't want to take it. Is there anything else you want to say? Like, I'm sure when I talk about stuff, you'll have input there. But is there any other like highlights, lowlights? Seems like you covered most everything.
Yeah, lowlights again. I just feel like it's a little bit clunky. I wish it was a little more refined, I guess. But for what it is, and again, this is more like a $30 game than a $60 game, or like a bargain bin type of deal to me.
Well done.
I hate to say it. I mean, my money is important to me and I work hard for it. So am I going to spend $60 on something that's going to be kind of mediocre fun? No. So luckily this is a Game Pass deal, and I think Microsoft, maybe you can allude more to that, Jimmy, but Microsoft saw this coming a little bit and you know, cut the deal. So Microsoft Game Pass, yeah, sure, I'll give it a 14-day free trial. But that's it. So I tried it, didn't like it. I probably won't buy it after my 14-day free trial's up. So
cool. All right, Joe. Well, now it's finally time, because I played in the alpha. I played in the beta. A lot of people were excited about this game. I was one among them. I thought, man, this game looks great. I saw it at E3 a while back. I was like, wow, this looks like a lot of fun. But I remember playing the alpha, and I played alone and played the beta. I was like, okay, I guess maybe when my buddies are in here, it'll be better. Like, is with you and Drew and people like, you know, Peyton. We had it. It's like, cool, great. We got a crew. No, all right, like, yeah. Bailing water and fixing your ship is a lot of fun in the middle of a fight, but if you keep missing every cannon shot because it's too hard to sink a darn ship, it's like, well, that's not fun. The fact that this game it really makes you want to be seasick. Like, I feel like I'm still at sea. Like, I'm still kind of queasy. Like, you know, it's ridiculous. That, I mean, I get that that's part of the vibe, but if I'm playing a game like this, the last thing you want me to think is, maybe I should do something else. Maybe I should play another game or do something else entirely. That is the last thing you want. And the entire time I played this game, I kept thinking, man, I can't wait till I'm not playing this anymore. And that is a bad sign. That is a failure of a game. There are good things about it. It looks really cool, and the music is also really good too. And there's some interesting ideas. It's just not really more than that. It's like a concept. It's like a bare bones, underdeveloped, like, it feels like we're still in the alpha or the beta. The only way I can interact with other players who aren't on my personal crew, like besides like locking maybe Joe in the brig or something, like most people, when you see them, it's shoot on sight. Like, everybody is a villain. There's not like, oh, maybe we could team up with this guy and maybe we'll backstab each other. And it's like, no, every person you come into contact with, we all just want to kill each other. Like, that's the only thing we want to do. But
we're pirates, man.
I know, but for what? Because we get the gold if we steal their gold, or returning gold, or we do an assassination, or we do these barter missions. We like get reputation to get like a shiny shovel or cosmetic items in a first-person game, which Destiny has now proven to me. The only thing that matters is how your gun looks or how your hands look, because everything else doesn't matter unless you're dancing. This stuff doesn't make a lot of sense to me. There's like no progression. It's like, oh yes, you've gained reputation in this group, but what does that mean besides like unlocking the chance to purchase with in-game money these items, which are just cosmetic? Now, I don't want them to be like, hey, here's a more powerful pistol that will mean that you're better at PvP than other people. I get that. I completely understand that. But there's like no type of single player or anything that makes me want to get better as a player. And it's hard because it comes right on the heels of one of the most successful games we've had pretty recently, which is Monster Hunter, which is a game that says like, hey, here are more powerful weapons, but you have to earn them, and it feels good once you get them. In this game, it's like, hey, you earned this like shiny gun, but it does nothing else besides that being shiny. It's just like there should be something to progress and at least give us like a class system or something where it's like, yeah, there might be a disparity between Joe's, melee damage and my range damage, but it's like my melee damage sucks and his range damage is better. Like, give us something like that where it's like a skill tree or something to make us keep coming back, because I just keep turning in quests and getting gold for like nothing. It's just like, just to buy more quests, to go on more assassination missions, to just go explore these lifeless islands. Like, they look pretty, but a lot of them just have nothing on them. It's just like, yep, there are snakes on this one, skeletons on this one, dig up the treasure, more skeletons spawn. It's like, that's it though. Like, there's so much potential, and I don't know if it was Microsoft who's like, you guys have to get this out the door. I don't know if it was Rare and they're like, this is the game, it's done. It's probably a bit of both. I don't know fully like who's to blame, quote unquote, for it, but I just didn't enjoy this. It's just so sad because I feel like this is one aspect of a much larger game. I feel like there's a lot more that could be used here, and Rare isn't a company known for making like the best first-person shooters like ever. Like, I'm sorry, they're not. Like, and this just goes to show like this is the continuation of that. Like, they needed to bring on people who are more refined at making these, because the controls are just abysmal. I'm so sorry, but like the sword fighting is mostly like you can slash, you can do like a power up and stab, or you can do like a block. And like, so most fights just come down to just like people just hacking and slashing at each other, and that's not that great. Then you have like your guns, your pistols, unruly. I guess the blunderbuss is fine. The rifle, I think I used it a few times. It was like okay, but like that is it. Those are your weapons. Like that's it.
Yeah.
And Joe's right. Like, the floaty controls, yeah, your guy's always moving like Jack Sparrow. Like, he's going, and I don't know. It just like, you can drink in this game to get drunk, but that made me even more seasick. Like, there's so much potential. And I look at a game like right now, I'm playing some of Assassin's Creed Rogue Remastered. I played Black Sails, and those combat controls for the ships are much slimmed down. Like, they're not as crazy. Like, you kind of look off to the right and you can aim your cannons, but you actually have like a reticle for that, which would be kind of nice, because this game's kind of like a simulator, and it's like, we're not going to give you like the ability to like aim your cannon like in any way, and it's mostly just shoot, and it's like trial and error, which is fine, but I just don't like, why take one of the most fun aspects of your game and make it so difficult? Like, why is it so difficult? Like, it's just like, I have my cannon, I'm like pointed at them, and for some reason I still overshoot like every time, and I'm like, and I learned it after a while, but it's just, by that point I just didn't care. I don't care. Like, why kill other players? What's the point? Just to kill them? Like, to maybe get their gold, maybe sink their ship and then get their gold?
Bragging rights, bro.
Yeah, but like, and then even if you kill those people, they'll just come right back and they'll get their shit back. It's not like they have any penalty for it. It's like, it just seems like this exercise in monotony. Like, it just, again and again, it looks so good, I think, and the music is good, and there's some elements that I really enjoy. But just like, it makes me sick in my soul and in my mind. Like, it made me sick. Like, I'm not kidding. Like, it really did. It really has affected me. Yeah, so if you have like any aversion to like, and I'm not kidding, like motion sickness or seasickness, which I normally don't, like, I really like 2 hours of this game max for me was like, yep, or 2.5. I was like, I'm done for today, boys. Like, and then it was cryptic clues, and like, again, Joe was talking about the riddles, which I guess would be kind of fun in a game that was more fun. Like, if Monster Hunter put a riddle in there, we'd be searching for like 40 hours to figure it out, because we'd be like, we love this game. But this game was like, okay, do we bring like an explosive barrel here and blow it up on this thing, and maybe a skeleton will summon, and then we can kill him for gold? It's like, just like, what's the point? I'm really like, this game is like, brings me down, man. And like, this doesn't happen really often with like these games that like, I think a lot of people are anticipating. Like, lately we've been lucky, like almost all the games that have come out that people are really excited about have usually been loved. And I'm not saying that you can't love this game. I'm just saying that usually for me, my anticipation usually meets where like the actual execution of a game is roughly, but this one was so below. It makes me sad because Microsoft wants to have good first-party IPs, and it's sold really well so far. I think a lot of people have bought this game. Like Joe is alluding to, though, it's not worth $60. I don't think it's worth $30. I think it's got to be gamble at $10, to be completely honest with you, especially if you're playing alone. Do not play this game alone. It is not worth it. I am happy to play this game with other people for a little while, but like, I just don't see myself playing it like in the future ever. Like, it sounds so mean because I know we're excited about it, Joe. I know you and Drew and I were excited. I know we have some other Legionnaires who are excited to play, and I'm not opposed to playing with you guys like once in a while, but like, this is not a game I look forward to being like, I'm gonna hop back into it. It's like, oh boy, like there's a lot, like the Kraken and the skeleton forts, like that's all whoopity doo, but like, for what, you know? I don't know, Joe, I'm sorry. It sounds so mean. It just is there anything you want to add to my little rant there?
No, not really. I will say I was surprised to hear this rant from you. I didn't think that you would be so turned off by it.
Yeah.
I thought you would find enough redeemable qualities to kind of keep it even keeled, but I think this one's a little below deck for you.
I wish it were even keeled, Joe, but this one has turned the boat upside down.
No pun intended.
Yep.
2 of them in there. Boom.
Yep, I know. I put a lot of those in the review too, which sucks because the romanticized version of pirates has always been something I've really liked, maybe even more so than like Vikings. And it's weird because in this day and age, we're kind of like, oh, pirates are cool, Vikings are cool. But like back in the day, if like pirates showed up on the shore of your village, you'd be like, oh my gosh. Or like Vikings showed up, you'd be like, they're going to kill all of us. But nowadays we're like, oh, that's pretty quaint. So the idea of pirates, and we're going to talk about Disneyland and Disney World later, but like Pirates of the Caribbean has always been a ride that I love so much. And I was riding that last week and I was like, yeah, oh my gosh, we'll see if I'm hoping it's going to be good. And it doesn't live up to it. And I think it's been so hard to crack that pirate code of making a good pirate game. The closest we've gotten maybe is like Assassin's Creed, Black Flag, but that was kind of like a mixture of pirate and like assassin stuff. I just want a really good pirate game. I know that sounds difficult. I know Disney was doing this thing a while ago called like Armada of the Damned. It was gonna be like a prequel to Pirates of the Caribbean and all that stuff. It's gonna be so cool, but she's like, just make a good pirate game. Like, you don't have to make it so simulated. Don't make it so seasickness and like your character can't walk correctly and all this stuff. Like, just don't make it so tough. I think there are moments to be gleaned of fun in this game. Like coordinating with a crew is kind of fun, but like there's only so many hours I want to spend like staring at a map, staring at my compass, changing the rigging, and like going to get a piece of treasure. Like the first couple of times it was cool, but now it's just like, whatever, man. Like, honestly, at this point, and I know I might be crazy for saying this, but maybe Skull and Bones by Ubisoft is going to be a closer and more fun pirate game. Obviously, we're all going to be like pirating our own ships, but that to me sounds a little more appealing at this moment right now than what Sea of Thieves currently is. Now, remember this, we're recording this like right after the games come out. Maybe it will increase and get better over time if they get enough support for it. But right now it just feels so bare bones. Am I right, Joe? Like it feels lifeless. Like it feels like there's not like anything going on.
It is. I mean, I used words like mediocre and bargain bin. I mean,
which is sad because it shouldn't be. It should be like exciting. This should be really cool. And we should be like, oh my gosh, great. This is amazing. And it's like, I'm like, okay, cool. When's Far Cry? Like, I want to play a game with good first-person controls. Like, please. You know, I look at Blizzard, who is under the Activision umbrella, and like when they were making Overwatch, they talked to the guys who made Black Ops. I don't know if like anybody did that for Sea of Thieves, but like, just have somebody come in and be like, hey, you know what? I made first-person shooter games, and maybe someone is over there doing that, but like, it doesn't translate. Like, this game is like,
here's a hack.
Yeah, it's not good, man. Just the combat's just so blasé. It is just so, oh my goodness. Oh, and it hurts me. It hurts. And you know what? Maybe it's just me. Maybe other people really like this sort of thing. And I think that if I wanted to play like what would be the best version of this game, I think there's two versions. I think there's like a multiplayer like they have, but I also think there's like a purely single player game, or at least co-op, where you don't have to worry about other people in the world. Like I'm looking for the Breath of the Wild, but like I can play with like Joe. Like I want to be able to explore a huge open world like we have done in like Ghost Recon. I mean, Monster Hunter's not like open world, but like it still feels, you know, like there's a big world to explore. Like I want more of that, and I'm hoping that's what Far Cry does. It is just not this game. Sea of Thieves is not for me. There it is. I've said it. Feels good to get it off my chest, Joe. Feels like I removed the chest of 1,000 grogs or whatever that stupid.
To really see what Jimmy thinks, go watch his review on Critical Reviews.
Exactly.
On
Yes. Also, check us out on patreon.com/critical reviews if you want to support and make more reviews like that one. Because people will be like, "Hey, Jimmy, you make such like your critical reviews, but they're not super critical." Like they usually are, but they're fair. And this one, I think, is very fair to what the game really is. It's a failure. I'm not sorry. I wanted it to be better. I wanted this to be something where Microsoft could be like, "Yes, look at this. We got Sea of Thieves. It's incredible." But I think it's a letdown. It's a letdown, and I really want Microsoft to be stronger. It's the same reason I want Universal to be strong against Disney. I want Microsoft to be there to keep Sony like fit, you know, and quick. Like I don't want them to get fat and lazy. I don't want anybody to get fat and lazy. I want them to keep moving, and I want there to be that competition. But this is not the way to be competitive. It's just not. It's not. And I don't know what Microsoft's got up their sleeve next, but it's like hopefully E3, they say this year, is going to be a big deal. I'm really hoping so. Make some good first-party IPs, for goodness sakes. Man. All right. Joe, do you have anything else to say about Sea of Thieves before we move on?
I don't.
You don't? Okay. Joe, believe it or not, we've already moved on to that time of the show that I like to call, that you like to call, that we like to call
Timekillers.
That's right. It's time for Timekillers. The games we've been playing, the movies we've been watching, the TV shows we've been viewing. Joe, what have you been killing time with, my friend?
I have been killing time with the new game.
Sea of Thieves.
No, believe it or not, Monster Energy Supercross.
Every time you say that, I always think you're gonna just go right into Monster Hunter World. Like you say Monster, and I'm like, oh, really? And then it's like, oh, okay. Yeah.
Monster Energy Supercross, the latest game from, I forget the studio. Sorry, guys, but you know what? Let me just look it up real quick because I feel guilty now.
Okay. Monster Energy Supercross, though, for people who don't know it, is a Supercross simulator game, pretty much, correct?
Pretty much, yeah. So Supercross, dirt bike racing, stadiums, indoors and outdoors. But it is kind of backed by the actual, I guess, Monster Energy and Feld Motorsports or Feld Entertainment, who puts on the Supercross series. I believe it was heavily featured throughout the racing this year and really amped up. So it's the official video game of the 2017 Monster Energy AMA Supercross and FIM World Championship. So the official video game allows you to take part in the most competitive and high-profile off-road motorcycle racing championship in the world. Join the ranks of the elite athletes and iconic characters. Now, so
who developed
basically, it's finally an American U.S. version featuring all the likenesses of the pro athletes. Everything is licensed properly and released, so all the motorcycles, the sponsors, Red Bull's in there, Monster, Oakley, Fox, all the brands are featured in here properly. Yamaha, Suzuki, Kawasaki, Honda, KTM, Husqvarna, all of them are the main manufacturers. So, and the likenesses are spot on. The realism is probably the best I've ever seen in any motorsport game ever, next to Forza. I don't know that. I mean, besides those other one-off racing car games, some of those are pretty good. But for a motorcycle game, this is pretty top-notch, especially something where you have a lot of textures to work with and a lot of detailed movement and fast-paced movement. And
who is it developed by?
Milestone.
Cool.
They did games such as MXGP, MXGP2 and 3. So they published those 3 games. They did a good job with those. I liked the third MXGP. I liked the second MXGP, but they only got better. So MXGP2 was pretty good. I enjoyed it. MXGP3 was really good. I liked that one as well. And it had some minor changes and nuances and improvements. And then now here they are with this. And I think this had a lot of backing, especially by the promoters of the sport and that sort of thing. And it was featured heavily in the televised events. So obviously put on a pedestal a little bit and given a spotlight. So I think there was some success there. I think there are a few issues here and there. I talked about the realism and everything, and the fact that everything is like legitimately the real life version. So even the tracks and the stadiums, they're all the actual tracks that were built, the track maps from last season, 2017. They actually took those tracks that they built and then animated them for the game. So that's what you're racing on. And I actually do recognize almost all of them. I'm like, oh yeah, I remember this section from the Indianapolis race. They crossed the starting line off of that single jump. And I remember that. And I think, man, it kind of brings a sense of like legitimacy to it, and in detail that kind of amps you up a little bit. The career mode is good. You can pick sponsors and stuff. You progress and make money, make your bike better. You can, I don't know that you can jump teams. I haven't quite gotten that far into it yet, but I've had success. I really enjoy the realism, and I'll keep saying it over and over, but the physics of it are more realistic than any motorcycle game I've played ever. And I mean, this is something I expect. I think we have the technology to get there. And as long as the budget and the time is taken to do it right, but the way things react, the momentum, the scale, most important with these games, and I can't tell you how jarring it is if the scale isn't correct. But the scale on this one is appropriate. Like, the track isn't like a mile wide, nor is it like 5 feet wide. It's exactly like if I'm a 6 foot tall human being, that's how wide the track should be, 15 feet or whatever. So I really enjoy that. Sometimes I feel I'm trying to think of issues. I mean, there just really aren't any, though. There are a couple glitching issues I have noticed, like in the menus when you're trying to pan through the different pro riders, like if you want to select the pro rider to race with, you'll flip through like 5 of them and it'll still be stuck on the one because it can't load them quick enough. And I think part of that is because there is so much detail. Like it's literally them sitting on their bike with a hand on the hip type of a deal and one leg down, with like this cool like green light behind them and then a spotlight in front of them. Like the lighting is legit. So I think it does take a little bit of power to get it pulled up, but that's not a big deal to me. I don't mind, like, okay, Dean Wilson, let's see what he looks like. So scroll down. I'll wait a second for the darn thing to load. I'm not going to crap my pants over that. So, and then I noticed that there are certain points in a race, and it seems to only be in races off the starting gate. You'll notice a glitch where I'll be coming into the first turn and I'll just be about to kind of, fine tune and hit my brakes to get a little bit of a slide and redirect for the whole shot. And it like glitches and kind of freezes for a second, or like almost a slow motion pause. And then it like re-engages and it throws you off. You're like, yeah, and that only happens like once every so often, or there's like a certain point on a track that kind of glitches out a little bit, and it's odd, but it doesn't take away from the experience. It's easily tolerable. So these games, I think the only reason they have a lot of success is because either A, there's somebody who's a major fan of the sport, is involved in the sport, relation to the sport of some way, or if you just purely, have an interest in racing, so you pick it up for fun. So it's a bit more of a niche game. It's not mass attraction by all gamers all around, but man, for somebody like me who used to ride, was very involved in the sport, and then still follows it closely and kind of cherishes it, this kind of helps fill that void, because I don't ride anymore. Adulthood took over, and health insurance sucks. So, but priorities. But yeah, it helps fill that void. It's cool. It's good to kill time with. So I'm gonna leave it at that for my time killers, flat out.
Sure.
But if you are in the racing, I would suggest I would do a review, but let's just call that my review. That's my rundown on it. I will say thank you to the Easy Allies. I think it was what's his name, Jimmy? It's Blood something.
You could tell someone by their net.
Bloodworth.
Yeah, there we go.
No.
I don't know.
That's his real name? Bloodworth?
Yeah, his last name. By the way, that phrase didn't really make a lot of sense. I was just trying to get him to that word. But yeah, Bloodworth. Daniel Bloodworth is his name.
Wow.
Yeah. I would love to have.
I wish I had a last name that was that intense.
You guys would be it'd be cool to have you guys on the same show to talk racing games, because he knows a lot about more so the car stuff too.
Sure. Cool. I can appreciate that. I will say, you got me into kind of checking out the Easy Allies here and there. I was watching Ben Moore play Monster Hunter Weekly Hunts. I kind of enjoyed that a little bit. And then I stumbled upon Bloodworth's review of MXGP, or playing it and just kind of talking through it. And as I was watching some of the gameplay. I was like, okay, that looks pretty good. And wow, look at all the gear selection. It looks legitimate. Like the scale and everything. The bikes look like the real models out there today. Almost like they 3D scanned it in, So kind of sold me on it. Helped sell me on it. So
you meant Monster Energy though, not MXGP, right?
Oh yeah, everything I've been talking about is Monster Energy Supercross.
Okay, the video that he was doing. I was just making sure.
That's the video. That's the game he was reviewing and playing. So
did I send that one to you, or did you find it by yourself? Because I remember seeing that and thinking maybe Joe would really like this.
I think one day I stumbled on it. I was just bored and listening to YouTube videos or reviews on YouTube at work. And,
it was our podcast, right? You can tell people you're just listening to us at work. You're just and play.
Well, here's the thing. Why do I want to listen to myself? I just did it.
I know.
I was there.
You should talk to me when I'm editing the thing. People are like, so Jimmy, what's it like? And I'm like, I just have to hear my stupid voice. I'm like, yeah, there he goes again.
I just badmouth myself the whole time. God, listen to my stupid voice.
Yeah.
Why would I say something like that? Can I just edit that out? I'm just going to cut that out.
Sometimes I try to predict what I'm going to say when I'm editing. I'm like, did I say this? And then sometimes I'm like, oh, I was dead on. And other times I'm like, why did I say that? Anyway. So basically, to sum it up, Monster Energy, is it Monster Energy Supercross?
Yeah, Monster Energy Supercross, the official video game of Monster Energy Supercross and FIM World Championship.
It's worth it for people who obviously are into Supercross, maybe even racing aficionados of even just other stuff.
Yeah, say you like some of the dirt games or any of the MX vs. ATV, that sort of stuff. This is more of a simulation game, but needless to say, I think if you're into motorsports or you have any appreciation for dirt bikes and that sort of thing, this is a very good game. It is a full price game at $60, but I hop in there from time to time just to kind of just relive it a little bit. Man, the way I landed that triple, hit the transition perfectly, no case, and just, that little bit of slide in the bowl turn. The way I freaking T-boned that guy and threw him to the ground. That whip off that finish line jump. Oh, man.
Throttle through the berm, as they say.
Yeah, Jimmy, that's his go-to. Just got throttled through.
through anything.
None of that works. There's more finesse.
Throttle through. I'm just saying, if nobody knows if I'm the best or worst motocross
throttle
star.
Through to your time killers, Jimmy.
Oh, good segue, Joe. I'm so proud. So obviously, Sea of Thieves. A little bit of Assassin's Creed Rogue Remastered, which will come after the Far Cry review. But I've been having some fun with that. It's a lot like Black Flag. So if you liked Assassin's Creed 4 Black Flag, then pick this game up, basically. Let's see, what else? Okay, so I want to talk about my trip, but I want to say something before that. I watched Alice in Wonderland because I went on the Alice in Wonderland ride at Disneyland. That movie is a little over an hour long. It's like it was in the 1950s, I think. That movie's just pure and utter madness. It is just crazy nothingness from like start to end. It is, and if you like that, great, but like just trying to figure it out, like there's no method to it. It's just insanity. The animation's good. The rest of it's just crazy. But yes, I did go to Disneyland. Now, this is kind of weird because I have a shirt that's from Disney World, but I'm pretty sure this is the Disneyland Castle, but this is the Disney World monorail. And this is a term that you'd hear on the Disney World monorail, which is please stand clear of the doors, which goes, por favor, manténganse alejados de las puertas. Now, I'm pretty sure I didn't say that perfectly right. But,
What?
Yeah, it's a term you hear a lot.
You're
if you
gonna
ride
have
the
to run
monorails.
that one right by me again.
So they say, please stand clear of the doors. Por favor, manténganse alejados de las puertas. Now, again, that's what it says on the shirt here. I don't know.
One more time for good measure.
Okay, I might. People are like, he's butchering the Spanish language. Once again, please stand clear of the doors. Por favor, manténganse alejados de las puertas. Like that's the only thing I could say if I ever went to Mexico. That and El Pollo Diablo.
Why did you keep telling me is please stand clear of the doors?
Yeah, just running through the streets of Mexico. They're like, get out of here. But as you can see, the Disney fandom in me is very high. I mean, I have a shirt that's based off a phrase based on a mode of transportation to get into the park, which is not a ride itself. So like the fact that this shirt exists and that I have it, I mean, just should go to show. Anyway, I went to Disneyland for 4 days, I believe it was. I was there with two of our greatest Legionnaires, the guys I was hanging out with in Seattle, Peyton and Case. Shout out to those guys. They were troopers. You know, they did pretty well out there because when I go to Disneyland or Disney World, it's tough. All right. We're going from place to place, going like crazy. Now, I didn't mention this in the vlogs we did, which they are coming up. So if you want to see what's like actually in the parks, you can see that, and actually on the rides, because yeah, that's right. Bringing cameras on the rides. You can do that, but don't go too crazy with it. But we use Disney's Max Pass. Now, this is an additional fee to your park fee, which you can get just like a single day ticket or a park hopper ticket or whatever, but it's $10 extra. Now, what this gets you is that it gets you can get like all the pictures by the professional photographers in the parks or from like the park rides. And the more important thing to me is that you can get fast passes, at least at Disneyland, and book them digitally. So basically what you do is you hop on your phone here and you're like, all right, let's see a fast pass for Indiana Jones. Like, let's book that for the three of us. We're in a group of 3. The second you go there and you scan that, you can book another fast pass. Or if the fast pass is like, hey, we booked it, it's 9 o'clock in the morning, it's for like 1 o'clock in the afternoon, 2 hours later, you can book another fast pass. So if you use it as quickly and efficiently as we always did, like we did a lot of rides. Like there wasn't really much of anything we didn't do. There were things that basically we would skip at some point. We did miss one of the big rides, which was Radiator Springs Racers, which is like Test Track, if you guys know that one from Epcot, but it was broken down the day we went in early to do that. But yeah, I did the new Guardians of the Galaxy ride, which they're like, please don't like film on here, which I'm really glad I didn't, because I definitely would have dropped my camera, because it is one of those rides where you shoot down and then you shoot up and you shoot down, and it was just like you're holding on for dear life. At least I was. Some other people were like, it's fun. But yeah, Joe, do you have any rides in particular you'd like me to discuss?
What was the Speed Racer thing, Test Track deal?
Yeah, so in Disney World at Epcot, they have this ride called Test Track. Now, back in the day, it used to be, there's something even before this. I forget what it's called. It's something about transportation or something. But this ride basically put you in the role of a crash test dummy, and you get to go through various tests that a car would go through, like GM Motors cars do before they're road ready. And at the very end of the ride, spoiler alert, you go and you'd be like a crash test dummy, and you go right towards the wall, and right before you crash into the wall would open, and then you go outside and around these hairpin turns and go up to 64.9 miles per hour because speed limits and all that. But you go up 65 miles per hour outside in a car, like, whoa, going crazy. They have a ride that's similar to that, but it's Cars themed, like from the Cars, movies.
Lame.
Yeah, but I would say the park though, like that part of the park, Cars Land, like that, the theming there is like crazy good. Like it's really good. Like they put a lot of money into it, and it's a cool ride. But it wasn't one that I was sad I didn't get to do. I did it last year, and it was broken down there like for up to 3 hours, and we just never had the chance to go back to do it. But yeah, that was.
So you broken down one of the cars, the wall didn't open, and there was a family of 4 smashed against it.
So the one in Disneyland, thankfully, doesn't have the whole wall opening thing. They just like in this one, it's cool because you actually race another car, Joe. Like you pull up to another car, like another group of people, and then your cars race or whatever. So like,
so you're telling me it's a competition and you have no control.
Yep.
I would kill somebody.
Joe's just like, he's just sticking out of the car. He's like, I'll kill you.
If I lose this race, I'll find you.
I did have a really fun moment on the Matterhorn bobsleds where we were going down and we actually met up with another pair of bobsleds for like a little bit. I looked over and I was like, hi guys. And then like we were going like for a little bit, they're a little bit above us. And then we kind of cut down below and I was like, I'll miss you. And like people were laughing. I had a good time.
And then you both meet at the offloading zone. You're like,
I thought that, Joe, but it was another track. So the people came up behind us. I was like, yeah, it looks like we beat you. And it was like completely different people, but still we did beat them down the mountain because like we started before them. So these people were like locked in their seatbelts, just thinking like, who's this guy? Who's just like, yeah, I was like, yeah, I beat you guys. It's fun. Disneyland's fun.
So Jimmy can be a bit of an asshole.
It was supposed to be cute and like it was like this. I thought it was the same people. I didn't memorize all their faces when we were going down the mountain. Like when I rode up next to him, I wasn't like, oh yeah, there's a guy with a green t-shirt. He's like 2 seats back. Like it wasn't like that. I just confused a lot of people, which I enjoy doing at a place where I know absolutely no one. So that's fun for me.
They're gonna remember you for life.
For sure. One sad thing though is I tried to buy a Matterhorn t-shirt by like one of like the little gift shops, and they're like, yeah, we don't sell them here anymore. I'm like, okay, where do you sell them? They're like, you can get them online or at Disney World. And I was like, what?
All right, to Disney World I go.
Yeah,
Screw
exactly.
you guys.
I was thinking, like, is it cross promotion? Like, you're in Disney World and you're like, hey, is that like Expedition Everest material? And someone's like, nah, man, that's over in Disneyland. They're like, oh, they got like 2 parks. They're like, man, you ain't even seen the other park. He's like, nah, man. And then they just hop on a plane together and come to Disneyland. But I don't know why they're all surfers, but they just are. But I absolutely love the mountains. So one thing I want to talk a little bit about is Space Mountain, which you guys have probably seen me wear Space Mountain shirts here on the show. I absolutely love Space Mountain.
Is it refurbished yet, or is it still as rickety and sketchy as ever?
Yeah, so they refurbished both of them a while ago. I missed the one in Disney World because that one, like, I always thought if I die on this ride, my family's getting like a 6 settlement. Like that was my thought right at the beginning, because you go and you like hit the turn at the highest point in the ride, and I was like, this would be the spot where you just careen off and die. And I kept thinking, like,
and it feels like you will.
The hush money would be good. But the one in Disneyland, because they built it the way they had to, they didn't have a lot of space for it. This is not a space joke. But it goes like up, it goes up, up, and up. So there's like 3 different tracks, but it kind of just spirals down. There's some differences though. This one you sit by a person. The one in Disney World you sit, it's single file. But this one has music that's actually pretty good. And last year it was Star Wars. So last year I didn't care. It didn't matter what it was because I didn't care if I was doing drops or anything. I was like, there's Star Wars music and like things were happening. It was great. This one was just like pure Space Mountain. It was just darkness and just the music. Which allowed me the first time, because the music wasn't working, I thought that was the entire ride, and I was like, this is the most cryptic ride in the world. It was just like it's just like silence. It was just like, everybody stay calm. So to be honest though, I find the track to be it's much more lackluster at the one in Disneyland. The one in Disney World, you sit single file and it's much more of a Mad Mouse. There's like 2 or 3 big drops in it. There isn't just like one, and you aren't just going in a big circle the whole time. Having said that, though, the fact that the Matterhorn is over in Disneyland, and comparatively to Expedition Everest, which is a ride that kind of is a little more based on the fact that you go backwards at one point in it, I prefer the Matterhorn. The Matterhorn, it is very rickety. It hurts. But they have added a new abominable snowman in certain scenes that is like legit looks like a dude in a suit, like coming to get you. He's like crawling out of the snow and ice. And the audio in almost all the rides there is cranked up to 11. So like it seemed really intense when he tried to get me. But I really love the Matterhorn. There's something about it. Just it feels so cool.
What's a Matterhorn?
Oh, the Matterhorn, for those who don't know, it's a mountain. It's like a big mountain with a snowy peak. It's like the tallest thing in Disneyland, just about, besides like maybe Guardians of the Galaxy now. But you go all the way up through the middle of the mountain, and then you go down around the sides of it and like bobsleds, single file, and you go and you see like the abominable snowman. He pops up at you at a few places, but you go like drops and turns and stuff.
Okay, all right.
Yeah,
I got confused for a second.
That's okay. Don't worry about it. It's okay. Let's see. Thunder Mountain. It's hard to compare because I have to remember what Thunder Mountain's like at Disney World. Disneyland's Thunder Mountain's great, though, especially at night. I mean, all those rides, especially if you're outside at night, come to life because your other senses are heightened because you can't see as much, and it just makes it much more fun. Unfortunately, the last mountain, Splash Mountain, was closed due to refurbishment, which made me very sad, and I just stared at it for a while because I saw the scaffolding down the drop, and they're doing all this stuff because, as you guys can probably guess, water rides need a lot of refurbishment because they are in water or constantly subjected to water, and animatronics do not do well with lots of water. So like you just keep going. You're like, okay, we need to fix this a lot. Disneyland is very small though. One of the greatest things about it is that you can get from point A to point B pretty quickly, and both the parks are located maybe a couple hundred yards away from each other. Like in Disney World, if we're like, hey, we want to go from Magic Kingdom over to Animal Kingdom, that would take like 20 minutes or so, maybe even more. This one's like, hey, do you want to go from Disneyland over to California Adventure? It's like, sure. And you just like walk like out the park and into the other park. Like you just walk straight into it, which is really nice. That's very convenient.
Yeah.
Let's see. What else? World of Color, one of their nighttime shows. Incredible, still really good. Mostly just white, or I was gonna say water and light. White lights, all the light colors, but the fire and all this stuff shows off a lot of just Disney classics with all the music and stuff like that. It used to feature Neil Patrick Harris, and he would like dress up as if he was in all the movies or on all of the rides that they featured, which was really stupid. So this one is much better. They have a version of the old Wishes from Disney World that they're playing in Disneyland called Dreams Do Come True. It is narrated by the one and only Julie Andrews, which for some, I think a lot of people like. For me, I was like, it's fine. But that one focuses more so, again, on the rides themselves. And it's really weird, Joe, because the fireworks show there is off to the left of it. Like when you're looking at the castle, it's off to the left because that's where they have to do the fireworks. Whereas in Disney World, they have the planning and the proper placement, so it like appears right behind the castle. So like if you look at the castle, you have to be like you have to turn just a little bit. It's like you wish they could just find a way. It's like they just couldn't get it together. Which is fine. The castle is small enough; it's not a problem. Which is a very charming castle. You get to walk through. There's a Sleeping Beauty, like little kind of walk-through tour thing you can do there, which is pretty cute. And it's a quaint castle. It's not that imposing, terrifying castle I remember seeing as a child. Cinderella's castle at Disney World it is like a true castle. Like it's like you see it and you're like, why is it at the end of this United States street? But there it is. Let's see what else. Indiana Jones, great ride. I like it. I think I like Dinosaur or Countdown to Extinction, as it was formerly called back in Disney World, a little bit better. For some odd reason, it's technically not as good as Dinosaur. Dinosaur was made it quite a bit ways after. And the cool thing about this ride is like you're in this big Jeep, which like this Time Rover here, you can see right here. So you're loaded into these like 3 spots here, and the Jeep moves along pretty much like a solid track like this. But this part, it moves, like it torques around, but the wheels never like leave the ground or bump over anything. So it's like a perfectly, flat track. And because Indiana Jones takes place pretty much in one gigantic big room, you can kind of like see all the little things. You can see the lights, you can see the track and all that. Whereas in Dinosaur, it's so dark and they move you through like these corridors that you can't like really have a lot of time to like look and like assess like all that stuff. And also the story.
Oh, I would.
Yeah, well, I know you would. The storyline in Indiana Jones makes like absolutely no sense. So basically, it's called the Temple of the Forbidden Eye. Indiana Jones has gone in like a week ago, apparently, into this temple. And if you go in here, you get one of 3 things. You can either have eternal youth, you can have visions of the future, or infinite wealth. And so people have been going into the temple and coming out with like money, or they're younger or whatever. But if you look into the eyes of the idol, you like will go into this horrible temple. So I guess we're just people who are going in to get one of those 3 aforementioned things, and it doesn't go well. But then we find Indy in there, and somehow we work together to get him out or something. I don't get it. Like it's just weird. I still love the ride though. It does throw you around quite a fair bit, and I enjoy it. I will say this though. The queue line, which I love, and it's so intricately detailed, it needs to be, because you have to walk like 1.5 miles to get back to the attraction itself. It's like ridiculous, like how far, because you have to walk all the way to get onto this attraction, and then to get off of it, you have to walk back like parallel to the old queue line. And I get it. It's the size isn't there. And then a lot of people have theorized that maybe they'll just take that idea and apply it over to Dinoland USA over in Animal Kingdom, like they'll make it all Indiana Jones stuff instead. I hope they don't do that. You kind of undercut to be like what Animal Kingdom is. Like Indy isn't like known for animals. Like he's known for not liking animals usually. Well, I guess he likes that little monkey in Raiders, but he doesn't like snakes or anything like that. But yeah, what else? Pirates of the Caribbean, much better in Disneyland. It's like a longer ride. It's really cool because there's like 2 drops. And there's like an extended queue of or extended like skeleton cave sequence, which I really love because who doesn't like a skeleton cave? It was getting me so amped for Sea of Thieves. And fun little story. I want to tell this quick. It was the second to last full night we were going to be there. Peyton and Case went back, and I was going to go do Roger Rabbit. It's called Cartoon Spin, and you're in a car, so Cartoon Spin. Couldn't do that. It was closed down because of fireworks or whatever. I'm like, fine. So I went and did a ton of other rides. And one of the rides I did last was Pirates of the Caribbean. But I did it in a way, Joe, that most people don't get to do it. That's right. I went on it completely by myself with 2 boats in front, 2 boats behind, without anyone else on it. I went on this ride. I probably look like the craziest person in the world. I like walked down there. I was like strutting down there because I want to make sure I was by myself. And I was like sitting there. I'm like, I am in this like dark ride by myself. And it was kind of scary sometimes because it would kind of slow down in certain like really dark spots. I'm like, I'm by myself. But I did get to sing Yo-ho, yo-ho, Pirate's Life for Me as loud as I wanted. I hope the security guys had a good time because I was like filming myself. I'm like, yeah, like, you know, I was having a good time. Last thing I'll mention, Mr. Toad's Wild Ride, one of my favorites. It's about drinking and driving. And you shouldn't do it because if you do, you'll die and go to hell. I went on it with one of the Easy Allies, Ian Hink, which he hung out with us in the parks, which was really great. And it broke down, and he'd never ridden the ride before. And right before the part where you get to see you go into hell, where the budget for this ride is, because all the good stuff is in that part of the ride. Like it's all like cardboard pop-up stuff until that point. It broke down, and they turned on all the lights, and we had to get evacuated, which was really weird. We were right by Alice in Wonderland. No, we were right by Alice in Wonderland. We could hear the Cheshire Cat kept talking on a loop for 20 seconds. Really funny. So you probably see that in the vlog. But anyway, so we come back and
what was it like with all the lights on? What was the behind the scenes like?
You'll have to wait and see in the video. But I mean, it really kind of like the magic falls apart when there's like big floodlights on. And you're like, okay, you're like judging it. You're like, okay. And like, there's a lot of detail in that ride I'd never seen before, but we like walked back through, not through hell, but we had to go back the other way, which is fine.
I've walked through hell and back, kid.
That'd be so much. But we got to that part of the ride finally because we came back later and did it. And he was just, I love taking people on that ride for the first time because they're like, what? At the end, because these rides have like, I call it, they say like falling action. I call it plummeting action because these rides, their conclusion is like immediate. Like the bad final thing will happen and then the ride's over. And you're like, what just like the bad, there wasn't like a resolution, like, oh, Toad made it out and he's living his life. It's like, no, man, he's probably in hell right now. You're just like, what? Snow White's the same way. It's like they kill the queen, it's like done. And you're like, oh, okay, all right, cool. Yeah. Disneyland's great, man. You can't like take a step in that park without having or hitting another attraction. Like there's so much stuff in it. And I'm interested to see the Star Wars stuff that's going to be, I saw like the walking path for Frontierland, which that stuff comes to life at night, and Critter Country and all that. And yeah, I want to go back, man. I want to go back for the Nightmare Before Christmas overlay they put on Haunted Mansion. I know they do a Christmas overlay for Small World. We skipped Small World. Sorry. I've just spent on it a lot. I know what to expect. It's a beautiful message, though. Yeah. Joe, do you have any other questions about the parks? I mean, the vlogs are coming. There's going to be so much footage. So if you have any questions, you can probably just see it in there. But do you have any?
Yeah, I'm impressed that you vlogged it all. I'll probably just check it out through there, to be honest.
Yeah, you might skip through a lot because there's a lot of footage, and I'm not sure. I might just do them one day at a time. They might be really, really long, but I figure
you can clip it together a little bit. We don't have to see you walking down the brick.
Well, I didn't like
unless you're like pointing things out as you're walking.
That's what I mean. That's the whole thing. It's not like I put like a GoPro on my head and I was like, and record, and then I was like, like the whole time, I'm just like,
I'm gonna stop for a drink.
I also did make friends with Spider-Man, so that was great too. We're pals now, so expect him to swing on anytime now. Okay, I just thought that would be really. If any time for that door to open, it would be right now.
He's gonna show up. It's gonna be at my place, man.
It was cool to see a Marvel character in the park, though. I was waiting for Captain America, but he just wasn't showing up. I want to see Black Panther and run the door of Milaje, because I was gonna be like, Wakanda forever, you know. Talk to him about politics and stuff. Be like, are you going to be in the Summer Olympics? Like, is Wakanda coming? Like, you know, like that's probably what I've asked.
Wait, so is Black Panther there? Or?
Yeah, apparently he's premiering in the parks over at California Adventure. And I found out, well, like I was in the plane, and when I landed, they had announced that they're having a Marvel Land go into California Adventure, which I'm guessing they're going to gut Bugs Land and all that stuff. They're going to make room for this because Marvel's the future. So
yeah, because what was Bugs? That was like when I was a little kid.
Yeah, yeah, that's true. Me too. I've always liked A Bug's Life, but I can see why it's kind of like,
yeah. Ain't nobody caring anymore.
Yeah, but I could go on about Disneyland for hours. I know I talked to my sister today about it, who's been doing a lot of our Instagram stuff, and she's like, I would love to be on the show sometime. We could just talk about Disney and Disney World. And I would love to do a true, like I've done a critical comparison of like movies before, but I would love to do a critical comparison of Disneyland versus Disney World. Like I'm not going to say like one's better than the other, but like the differences. Like I can even see the differences in the rides. So I'm like going on Winnie the Pooh. I'm like, they did these scenes out of order compared to Disney World. People are like, why do you like? I'm like, the one at, I call it home Disney World. I'm like, the one in my home actually bounces when you get to the Tigger sequence, which I see you don't really have much of a Tigger sequence. Like I'm like sitting there like in the honeycomb, like writing stuff. I'm like,
So in other words, Disney World has probably better, greater detail, probably more worthwhile if you're going to spend the money.
No, it depends on the ride, honestly, because some of the rides there are better. Thunder Mountain's got better effects in Disneyland than it does in Disney World. I don't know why. They just do.
I'm still going to Disneyland. It's bigger.
Disney World. You're going to Disney. Remember, Land.
Or Disney World. Sorry. Yeah, Land is not bigger than the world.
Very good. I want to take you there, man. It'll be so much fun. But they're both great. I don't want people to think I'm down Disneyland. I love Disneyland, and while I was there, like it's got a historical charm to it. When you're walking around, you do feel like that kind of like, oh yeah, Walt was here, and like you really feel the intricacies, and the people really love it there because a lot of people are locals. People are going there all the time. They have to make sure that their game is up to Disneyland because Disney World, it's like families who come in for just like a week at a time, maybe once a year, and that's it. Disneyland is like, yep, there are high schoolers here. There's a lot of different variety of folks that you're going to get as far as like family dynamics or just like younger kids. And I'm not going to call them the riffraff, but a lot of people, like you won't see that in Disney World. You're not going to see people who are like, who are just getting out of school for the day. And they're like, yeah, we're just going to head down to Disney World. It's like, no, you're not. Like Disneyland, yes, but Disney World, nope, not at all.
No.
It also depresses me to go on the monorail there because you like see the real world for a bit, and it just really saddens me. I like going into a place. If you're gonna escape reality, escape it fully. But yeah, there you go. Disney World. I could talk about it more in Disneyland if you guys ever want me to. I could even.
One thing you were blessed with was good weather, Jimmy. You were saying that it was like 60s.
Yeah, we had a rainy day, but then we went on this ride called Grizzly Peak or Grizzly River Run or something, and it was like that's a really like a water raft ride where you spin around and get really wet. But we did that. We just got soaked, which is on the video. We rode it twice. But yeah, the rest of the time was like in the 60s.
Yeah, that's nice. The problem about the water rides, I hate the getting wet part. Like I love the water aspect of it and the feeling of that and all that. But why do I want to get soaked? Like more than anything, that just deters me from going on it because I know I got to walk around this park all over the freaking place. And when I get back to my hotel, I don't want to be just laying with my legs spread because I got chafing between my legs, you know, because my freaking pants are so wet.
What I would say that, yeah.
TMI, but whatever.
Disneyland is a little more forgiving because the hotels are so close, so we could like leave immediately after that and go back to our hotel room and change. I wore like board shorts and like a t-shirt with like rain jacket on, so like and flip flops. So I was ready to go. Like and Yeah. Actually, I should say this. Peyton did carry we had a backpack and stuff, so we switched out clothes and stuff. So thank you, Peyton. Thank you so much. Next time I'll bring my own backpack.
Wait, do they have a locker room or something? Or
they do have lockers actually located near that ride, and it's like free for the first hour or two, and then you have to pay like $7 an hour after that. So it's like, yeah, that's not bad at all. It's like free. So it's like
okay, so it was a major feature of that ride. Grizzly bear pops out.
I wanted there to be. So on the top, there's like this. It's a rock formation that looks like a grizzly bear, but there's no grizzly bear or anything in the ride. Unfortunately, I wanted there to be. I remember being a much longer when I was a child. Like I remember thinking about that. I'm like, yeah. The cool thing about that, Joe, is that part of the park specifically is actually connected to the Grand California Hotel. So if you stay at the Grand California Hotel, you can like walk out like a special secret entrance just for like the hotel guests, and you're like in the park. Like you walk out of your hotel into the park.
That's cool.
So do the hotels basically like form the perimeter fence or something, or what?
No, they just flank it on like one side. There's like, okay, so there's like the two parks here. There's like downtown Disney, and then like the hotels are down clumped over here. And then there's like a ton of hotels, like real world hotels and motels flanking it on all sides. So
they paid a pretty penny for that land.
Well, Disney, when they're doing Disney World, that he didn't want to have that happen again. So that's why he went and quietly purchased up a ton of stuff under dummy corporations, so he wouldn't have to deal with that. Apparently, they had like something of like all the acres they wanted, except for 300 at the very end when the word got out, and those things like spiked from like 180 some odd dollars an acre to over like $1,000 an acre. But they're like, yeah, we'll take it. We already got what we wanted, basically. So
yeah. That's great. That's like a prime example of probably one of the greatest, like not the greatest, but just like a really cool like little business fact, you know? Like, yep. And he did it under dummy corporations to not garner attention. Like, why is some idiot buying up all this land down there in the freaking Everglades?
Well, I've been watching this guy called Rob Plays on YouTube. He's very good. He's done a ton of Disney videos. He's very great at it. But I just watched one where he talked about that they got like these guys who used to work like in like espionage stuff for World War II, who helped like do all this, and like lawyers and things like that, and they were like using fake names and things, and they used to route calls from Florida up to New York to this business office back to California, so that way if you like check the call logs, it'd be like, oh, these are all going to New York, who's buying all this stuff in New York? But then they would reroute it to California for Disney and everybody. So it's like really cool to like hear about all that stuff, and like the names they use, which are kind of like joke names, like MT Lot, and then you're like empty lot. Like if you put it together, it's like I was like you gotta be kidding me. Like that's just beautiful. I just love it because I'm like that stuff is like that's why people are so invested in Disney. Like they invest in the person, they invest in the thought of it, and they just invest in like the cool history behind it. Because like I'm sure Universal has maybe a few stories like that, but it's like a little more corporate, where like Disney you can tie to like a character or a one man, you know, and you're just like, this is so cool. Like I'm freaking out about it. The voice is cracking.
Yeah. Me in my adulthood, I feel like I would just get overwhelmed by the construction aspects of it. I would hate to bring work with me on a vacation, but I can't help that in my personal life now. Like I walk into certain buildings, I'm like, how'd they do that? And I'm like looking at the beams and how they made the connections and the supports. And I'm like, I wonder if that's actually a real wall, is that just furred out? You know, I'm just like, I get all into that. And like the specific unique construction to something like Disney with the rides and all that, I would be all over it. I'd be like looking at welds and stuff on the tracks. Like I've seen bigger welds than that break.
I know that you love the cranes, the looming cranes from like all the Star Wars construction, because it's like everywhere. You're like, there it is.
Yeah.
I'll have to check out that Google Earth and see what they've made any progress. All right, we're gonna stop talking about Timekillers because we're gonna move into right now community feedback and questions. Community feedback and questions. I asked everybody, Joe, what game would they like to see launched on the next generation of consoles? Because I want to know. I want to know what they want. The Legionnaires said this. Ryan writes in and says, I would say for the next Microsoft console, there needs to be a new Halo game. For the PS4, a new Infamous or Prototype game, maybe. Which Prototype? I love Prototype. It's like Infamous, but darker, and you're cutting people in half and absorbing them. So good. Lil Red Rider asks, or she writes in, not sure. I've always been a huge first-person shooter gamer, Halo, or liked fighting games, Tekken, or fantasy games with heavy plot, like Final Fantasy VII, Dirge of Cerberus. I guess games that help expand creativity. I don't have anything specific. Look, a person says we need a Hatsune Miku Project Diva. I looked into it. Crazy game. The Cal G says Final Fantasy VII Remake might be done in time for the next gen launch at this point, and I'll take that Evil Within 3 for launch as well, please, and thanks. And then we get a really sad one. We got a gif of a person crying here from J. Hunter Pearson. He says, sigh, Half-Life 3.
A new Halo would sell the Xbox like hotcakes.
I wish Halo, or I wish Microsoft would just come out and just call their next Xbox just like the Xbox 6, because if like PlayStation comes out with PlayStation 5 and Xbox is like, well, if you call it the Xbox One, people are like, is this just like their first time? If you put out the Xbox 6, then like people are like, oh, so is it like better than the PlayStation 5? Like, well, it's called the 6, so I mean math, like that. If I was a Microsoft, that's
actually we just skipped to 6. We had the technology. So we figured based on the technology we're putting into this one, we're going to jump from the 1 to the 6. The X was like a 1.1. It wasn't anything special, but here we are. We just skipped 2, 3, 4, 5, and now we're here at 6. But think of the ones we skipped between there. The Xbox One X, if that's 1.1, then what about 1.2 and so on, and then 2.1 and so on.
We're gonna have a grunt, a little grunt from Halo is gonna come into your house and just punch you in the face. And you're like, "That's the Xbox 6. It's that good." Missile Mage says, "I think that I'd really want I think what I would really want would be some sort of open world platformer from Sony. Other than that, Horizon 2 will be hype." And then Corey Lang finally says, Lang_Corey says, personally, I just want another generation of amazing single player games. They must coexist alongside esports, streaming, games of service. Both should exist. I agree. Joe, do you have any questions for us, my friend? You got anything from the Level Legionnaires?
No, I do not, Jimmy.
Well, I guess that wraps it up for questions today. I've got them. I got them right here. Don't worry about it. Don't worry your pretty face. All right, so this is kind of a complex question, but I really like it. Lil Red Rider writes in, which ancient place and period would you like to visit? Why, and what would you do there? And then how do you plan on getting there and back? And she said, I asked her about that a little bit more. So she says, like, do you want to use like the Bermuda Triangle? Or you can use like a storm? Is it going to be magic? You can use like a time machine. It's like, which ancient place? Which I don't know if I want to go too far back though, because it's scary.
Say one more time. Which ancient place? What?
And period would you like to visit? If you could just visit it, you could just stop by and say hello. And how are you going to get there? Because like for me, it's probably Bermuda Triangle, like flying a plane into the Bermuda Triangle, right?
What ancient place would you like to visit?
I'm going for ancient Rome, maybe, because Legionnaire stuff would be kind of cool. Maybe, I don't know. I don't want to go too ancient though, because I'd miss a lot of the modern conveniences. Yeah,
just a visit, right? Like a day or two.
Yeah, man. Like just like a day or two, or like your life. It's a thinker.
I'll go back to I'll go back to 1776 and Declaration of Independence and all that jazz. I'm gonna throw some amendments in there, fix some shit.
That is so funny. I was like, why is he going back to... That's great, dude. We'll call it, yeah, that's... Well, how are you gonna get there, Joe? Are you gonna use a time machine, magic car?
My phone, man. There's an app for that.
I could see you using the one from Austin Powers Goldmember, where you just like, that's like boom, 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 boom.
With the British flag on it, and I'm gonna go back and make amendments to the Declaration of Independence. I think not.
That would be so fun. It was like, you're like, I swear I'm an American.
Don't mind the car. I stole that.
He's a loyalist, or whatever. Like you're like, yeah.
Trust me, the British they're like nothing in the future, nothing. But if you really want to solidify things, here's what you got to do. This section here, strike this out. Let's add a little bit of it.
Also, we want to say to our British followers that we love you and support you. And Joe's comments do not necessarily reflect the entirety of the Critical Review section.
Oh yeah, in this whole democracy thing. Total BS, man. It doesn't work out in the future. Let's go. Dictatorship.
He's like, go put your arm around George Washington. You're like, I know you don't want to be a king, but it'd be pretty sweet if you were a king. And he's like, do you think I'd make a good king? And you're like, you'd make the best king. It's just that for a long time. Yeah, Joe would really mess everything up. Let's not have that happen, shall we? Ryan Lehman writes in asking us, I thought he had a question. Maybe I misread that. I thought I had another one from him. Wait, hold on. I'm missing one here. Otherwise, we have another one from Anna, which is great too. Maybe I'm missing it. Joe, you don't have any more questions for me? You don't have any more questions for me? Oh, here we go. Yep, here we go. Apologies. Ryan did have one. He said, with Toys R Us closing down, do you guys have any great memories at the store? Joe, you got any great memories at Toys R Us?
Not really, to be honest. I think as a kid, I remember getting Legos from there, I guess.
Yeah.
But, yeah, Toys R Us was a rare treat.
Yep, same here. I remember being intimidated by it, and then the older I got, I was like, is that place dirty? Because it was like by our Chuck E. Cheese, and I was like, and I just never went back.
Because if it's by Chuck E. Cheese, it must be dirty.
It's just not true, because last time I was at Chuck E. Cheese was a long time ago, and the pizza was pretty good. Yeah, I remember thinking Toys R Us was like kind of crazy, because it was like, oh, it's just for toys. Wow, cool. Because like in like a Target or something, you had to kind of run back and find that section. It's kind of like the milk in like a grocery store. It's like at the back of the store, so you have to like make your way back to it. But Toys R Us was like, hey, it's all right here. I remember having other people go there and talk about it. And we didn't really go there much. But then again, I was a spoiled kid. I got to go to Disney World, so like it was hard. Like when I went anywhere else, I was like, I'd rather just go back. I was spoiled. I was so spoiled. As a kid, ever said no, I don't want to go to Disney World, because I know I have, because I was terrified of one particular ride. But maybe we'll save that for another video. Anyway. Last question comes in from J. Hunter Pearson. Let's face it, we've all got backlog problems. We're never going to find the time for all of them. Hypothetically speaking, if you were forced to remove one game from your backlog that you know you'll never get around to anyway, what would you remove and why? Joe, I know you don't.
This question?
This is J. Hunter Pearson. Mr. Pearson, thank you so much for the question.
I feel like I want to like read that. Am I mentioned in the tweet?
Yeah, you are. And it was very well written, which I appreciate a well written question. Like most of our questions are well written, but I love the whole let's face it. I like to put like a voice to it a little bit. While Joe's thinking about that, he doesn't, have too much of a backlog. For me, oh man, I really want to play through the rest of Valkyria Chronicles, but like I had a problem where it didn't save once and I lost like 2 missions worth. And like that is like the nail in the coffin for me, where I'm like, I'll come back to you eventually. Like it's just hard to go back. Yeah, I'm usually pretty good about playing through my games, but yeah, maybe that's the one. Or Dragon Quest Builders. I love that game, but there's like so much to it, and it's so long. It's such a long game. Oh goodness. So maybe one of those two. I know that's not like a firm answer. Joe, man, like is there like a game for you where you're like backlog, or like a game you just meant to play and you just never did, like meant to pick up, but just were like
Did we ever finish the campaign for Halo 5 co-op?
I went back and did it.
Well,
sorry.
Yeah. Part of me feels like I'd like to go back to Destiny 2 and try and do the. Is it the strike? It's not the strike. It's the. Do you know the word for it, Jimmy?
Raid.
A raid, yes. I'd like to try that out. That, or I think Battlefield 1, I'm pretty sure there was a campaign in there that I never really got all the way through.
Yeah. But would you
not
be
for
okay?
lack of trying. I think I just lost track and got caught up in the multiplayer. And some other games came out right around there that distracted me. But it was good. That game is good graphically and all that. I'm sure the storyline would have been pretty decent. But
would you be okay never playing it again? That's the question here. You're saying like you're forced to take one off the backlog. You like they have.
Oh, take it off the backlog? Oh
yeah,
my gosh!
You're forced to remove one game from your backlog, and you'll know you'll never get around to it anyway. Why tease yourself? Why mess with your mind, Joe? Why?
Whatever. I don't care. Take them all off there. I'll move on.
Joe's just like, you just cut it off and move it aside. Just
exactly. They're important. Well, they're not that important to me, is what I'm trying to get at.
Sure. I wish
There's
there was
always something else to move on to.
I wish there was one that I could think of specifically. I'm thinking. I don't know. Maybe one of the Zelda games that people are like, you gotta play this, you gotta. And I'm just like, I'm probably never gonna do it. It'd be nice to just take it off and then just say like, yeah, somebody forced me to take it off my backlog a long time ago, and I could just never play it. They took it away from me. Like I can't do it now. So you all be quiet about it.
Mr. Pearson said no.
Maybe Dark Souls. Yes, Dark Souls. Take Dark Souls and get rid of it. Because I remember playing through it, Joe, to a certain point. The frame rate got so bad at one point that I couldn't continue. It was that difficult. It was so junked up. So take Dark Souls. You chuck it in the bin, baby. Chuck it right in the bin.
Wait, you're a big fan of Darksiders.
Yes, Darksiders. Very different things. I love Darksiders. Now, I know some people are like, but I love it. I can't wait for 3, but I'm cautiously optimistic for it. We'll see. I like 2 a lot. 2 is so cool. And just the look of it. Oh, my gosh. I love those games. I just watched a full documentary. By the way, shameless plug for, I think they're called Gamumentary. They just did like an hour and a half on the entirety of like Darksiders 1, 2, like the formation of Vigil games and all that. Go check it out. Tell them Jimmy Good from Critical Review sent you. If you like documentaries, especially about video games, it's fascinating. It's so cool just to see those guys and hear them talk about the game process and all that. Very cool. Yeah, I'd say Dark Souls. Dark Souls. Buy Dark Souls. Just take it and get it away. Just burn it in a pile. And I know some people like Dark Souls. It's just for me. I just wasn't. I did beat Bloodborne though. I defeated Bloodborne by myself. So did it. Anyway, I believe that's gonna do it this week. Thank you for everybody who wrote in. If you have a question, I know Anna sent in another question, but we'll get to that hopefully next time. Or always send us a question or topic or a game you want to have us play here on the show. If you want to do any of that, just go on to Twitter and just hashtag Critical Podcast. You can tweet that at either of us. You tweet at our official account, which is @GoCritical. It's capital G and a capital C. Or you can tweet at me personally. I'm at JimmyGood013. If you would like to tweet at Joe, you can tweet at
Lever_627.
Yep, that's Lever, just like Beaver, but only with an L. I feel like I had to say that because if you didn't, it would hurt my heart. Anyway, streaming on Twitch weekdays and some weeknights with Levi. So if you want, stop by twitch.tv/criticalreviews and hang out with us there. Thank you, people. I'd like to thank This Is Daylub for our theme. And I would like to thank the one, the only, the talented, the magnificent Mr. Joran Evers, the guy who does pretty much all the art you see here on the show. If you ever want a commission done by him, just tell him Jimmy sent you. You can find him at Niraj28 or at Jade Circle Art, on Twitter. And he also has an Instagram, which you should just follow up because it's cool to hang out there. We have an Instagram too, if you're into that sort of thing. My sister has been doing a great job of getting that really fleshed out for the trip, and it's some really good stuff she's put together there, taking like my kind of like okay pictures and making them really cool. So thank you for that, Katie. Appreciate it. Love you. Finally, I would like to say, if you want to support us, though, and keep this show going and get some of that sweet, sweet Joran Evers avatar art at the same time, just check us out on patreon.com/criticalreviews. I implore you to throw in $1. If you're throwing in $1 already, I implore you to throw in $2. If you know somebody who'd be interested in the show, show them the Patreon. Show them how they can help out. We really appreciate it. And I hope that you guys are finding that you're getting your money's worth here, because I think, we're doing a lot of stuff and I think people appreciate it, but I want you guys to give us feedback if there's something you want to see changed or see new things, new show ideas or whatever. We're here to entertain and inform you to the best of our ability. So please check us out over there and spread the word. We really appreciate it. Slowly growing all the time, which is great, but we appreciate the people who've been here the entire time. You guys are the best, and the people who watch this show, you guys are like the greatest, because you're hanging out and just listening to Joe and I just freaking back and forth about freaking motocross and Disneyland. It's just this is all over the place. I mean, really, truly. But it's a lot of fun. So thank you guys. Thank you to all of our Legionnaires. Joe, thank you, sir, for another week. I appreciate it. You're over 100 episodes now, Joe, at the very least. So very, very good job. You've done it. Yeah. Do you have anything you want to say to the Legionnaires before we sign off here?
Always a pleasure to join you, Jimmy. And Legionnaires, thanks for listening week in, week out. Appreciate it.
Yes. Mm-hmm. And love and hugs to all of you who are watching or listening or doing both. And just remember to adapt and overcome. And we'll see you next time.